Here in America, we recently had our midterm elections. The Democrats took the House, and with it they get access to select political powers, like subpoena power, and they can fill particular positions within the House, like the chair of the House Science, Space, and Technology Committee. That position is currently held by the Texan Republican Lamar Smith, who's been the head since 2013. Let's just say that under Lamar Smith, the House Science, Space, and Technology Committee has been misguided and unproductive. Mr. Smith is one of those politicians who takes money from the fossil fuel industry, and perhaps coincidentally, but most likely not, he's also a skeptic of climate change. He's the head of the House Science Committee, and he thinks climate change is a hoax. While in this position, he's been a fervent opponent of science, unreasonable and antagonistic, and he clashed with academics and scientists over a wide range of science issues, including climate change. He's a lawyer and a former journalist, and he's so arrogant that he thinks he knows better than the scientific community on issues of science. As frustrating and depressing and mind-bogglingly stupid as this is, it's par for the course for the modern Republican Party, which has virtually codified a distrust of science into its party platform. So you can guess how nice it is, how refreshing it is, to have the Democrats take over the House, so that they can put someone on the House Science Committee who actually gives a shit about science. This someone is Texan Democrat Eddie Bernice Johnson, who is a wildly popular representative. She's been on the Science Committee for 2 decades, but now she'll be its new leader, and she said that she wants to return the committee to, quote, a place where science is respected and recognized, unquote. Recently, Mrs. Johnson took part in several interviews, and her answers to questions about the future of the House Science Committee made me really happy. She definitely has the right idea, and I'm really excited to have someone like this lead the House Science Commission. In an interview with the Washington Post, she was asked what she would do first, and she said that they would be reviewing the rules that Republicans put in place, and reform or outright repeal them to move, quote, back to a nonpartisan view of what the committee was organized for, unquote. In this Washington Post interview, they seem to be focused on fixing all the problem policies from Republicans who wanted to drag their feet on issues like climate change and interfere in the processes of peer review. Mrs. Johnson wants to get back to objective, peer-reviewed science with objective, ethical oversight. In another interview that she had with Science Insider, she was asked about many of the same topics. She explained how the House Science Committee has to recover from the stain that Mr. Smith put on its reputation. Under Mr. Smith's leadership, she said the committee was, quote, trying to uncover any information that would undercut scientific findings, avoid facing what the scientific data were showing us, and attempting to annihilate much of NSF by doing overreach and telling the National Science Foundation what to fund, which is really not our role, unquote. She was asked what the most pressing area for oversight was, and I love her response. She said, quote, we have to get back to examining climate change. We obviously are experiencing a great deal of climate change, and we've had lots of denying. I don't believe that much of that denying was sincere. I think it was governed by the leadership of the committee. I think it's nonsense for us to sit here and ignore that it's happening and waste our time without having any plan for what we should be doing to save our planet and the lives and money it takes to clean up after disasters, unquote. It's powerful stuff. And in the rest of the interview, she would go on to describe the need to educate congressmen more than the general public, as Republican congressmen and the more establishment Democrats who are in bed with the fossil fuel lobbies, they all seem to be particularly resistant to acknowledging climate science. As for practical, real-world, on-the-ground measures, she said that we should start building seawalls to protect from flooding and sea level rise, and that we should perhaps start to consider a carbon tax and other policies that will create a significant, systemic, top-down response to climate change. She said that we should refund NASA, particularly their education funding, as NASA, quote, has been a leading agency in capturing the attention of students in science, unquote. Under the Trump administration and Republican leadership, this particular aspect of NASA's budget was quickly cut and forgotten about. Mrs. Johnson also wants better science and educational standards for our schools, and she wants more women and racial minorities to participate in the sciences, which are all really good things. She also wants to restructure the committee to safeguard it against any future head who might be an anti-science ideologue like Lamar Smith. And she wants to fill the slots on the committee with people who have STEM backgrounds, or formal education in the sciences, technology, engineering, or mathematics. So all in all, I'm really excited for Mrs. Johnson to become head of the House Science, Space, and Technology Committee. She recognizes that science transcends political beliefs, so no matter what your political persuasion is, you can be satisfied that someone who actually understands and appreciates science is finally going to be leading the House Science Committee. And that's good news for everyone.